Hey YouTube, today we're going to talk about the musician and the performer and what rights you have and what rights you don't have when it comes to actually putting on a show. So when it comes to the sound guy, you better rely on that guy for most of your sound live. If you want something specific, do it, you know what I mean? You got to talk to the guy, you got to communicate, got to make him your best buddy. In terms of live shows, the point of a live show is that you're playing live. And I've seen a lot of bands that are really talented and have amazing music, but they don't really perform. And the difference between that is playing in a stadium and playing in a club at the end of the day. Because if you don't perform your ass off, you're doing nothing but giving them oral stimulation. But you're supposed to give them visual stimulation. So make a costume or whatever wild ideas you have that you think could work, just use them. A band that has a lot of mystique and is very technical and amazing and had a very great first release that I'm going to be picking on, unfortunately, is the Heart Machine. I saw a lot of live videos where not only was there a ton of problems with Amumin's guitar, which is usually unavoidable, but it's like every single video there was a problem, but the guy was just standing there. And there's something about that just I cannot comprehend. You see bands like Spawn of Possession and you see bands like the Faceless and things like that. People are moving around, people are kind of performing, but the Faceless has also been kind of guilty in my eyes as people who do not perform so much. Now the vocalist of the Heart Machine is their saving grace because the guy's like trying to get the crowd together. He's doing very good involvement with the crowd when it comes to the shows. But other than that, it's just like, here's the guitarist just gonna stay on his cue, just gonna play. And there's the bassist who's just going to stay on his cue, just going to play. The drummer can do as much as he can. He can't run around on stage. But when you have a guitar or a bass, it's like this great male sort of thing. It's like, this is my fucking instrument. Pay attention to me. Listen to me. When you're standing there, the only people who can really pull off, oh wow, he's amazing, he's just standing there and playing beautiful music. The only guys who can really do that and can captivate an audience like that, really? Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Yngwie, maybe a few other instrumental guitar players that are actual virtuosos. I think it's really pointless to play live unless you move around. You have to do something, you have to be physical, you have to see what works and what doesn't work. And for me, I've seen enough of the live footage from the Heart Machine to see the vocalist is being given all of the responsibility, and that's really upsetting. Now they're just an example. I love their music. I think that Disclosure was probably one of the best releases of 2012. Very comparable to Periphery's Periphery 2. Just because Periphery 2 is great, but they've got it totally one-upped over the Heart Machine in the sense that there's like 5 guys. They have no space on stage, but they're giving her, you know, they're caring about how they look, how their performance is. They turn it into a bit of a performance rather than a rehearsal, which is kind of the point of this video. I just want you to go through some things, and if you're playing in a band or in a live situation, think about what you want to do to make it cool, to make it unique, memorable, to make people, oh dude, that gig last night was so good, I got so hammered and it was amazing. You want people to be talking like that the next day, because that's fan-generated content about you, which you want, because that's the best kind of review to get. If your live show was nuts last night, man, people will be talking about it the next day. It might not even be on Facebook, it might just be person to person. It's how things get started, dialogues get started. So here's what I would do if I was in a band and I was just starting out. I would rehearse playing live. I would go into a studio space which had the same kind of a feel as a live show in terms of like the setup of where the mics are and where the monitors are and where the drums should be, etc. and cabinets, everything, to simulate a live show. I'd then record the movements, and if you think you look dumb or awkward, change them. You can make it better. You can always improve. It's not just about playing the songs, it's about the stagecraft and about really giving a damn about performing live. And a lot of people might be like, oh, this shit's meaningless and stuff. Well, then why do people grow their hair long when they play death metal? And why do they windmill and all this stuff? Because they're performing. It's a part of their performance. It's a part of the energy, the psyche, the whole feel of it all. And I can tell you now, I've had some crazy live mishaps where there's a guy who runs onto the stage and he's supposed to help us do a cover, and he disconnected my guitar from my amp, and I'm just like, oh shit, and it's chaos, and it's great. Because that's the kind of stuff that people go, oh wow, like what the fuck's going on? And it's a part of the organic sense of being on stage. And I've played over 100 something shows, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but in my last few years it has felt like I've grown every single show. You should always feel that way. You should always feel like you're super comfortable muscle memory playing these songs, but you're giving a damn. You're performing. And when it's your time to shine, if you've got a solo or if you've got a break where it's just you definitely, that's where all the rehearsing and practice comes in, because then all of a sudden you know, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I'm going to do in this moment. And you have to feel it more than anything else. And for a lot of people, feeling the music is enough to put them into a physical frenzy of just kicking ass all over the place. That's why people also have wireless units, so that they can run around on stage and be nuts. And there's a few bands that really abuse them, and it's great. Metallica is one of those bands. They've got all those things. They've done the craziest live shows. I went and I saw one of their DVD, their 3D movie was shooting in Vancouver a little while ago, and I was privileged enough to get a box ticket, which boxes you can't get in those things. So I got in there and I was able to see, like, wow, they're doing the Injustice for All tour stuff and the Counting Stunt stuff, and it's like, that's a live show, man. You have to do something unique that people will remember, because I'm able to remember that show way more than their 2008 show, which was kind of like, it's alright, you know, Death Magnetic stuff. They had the things running around on stage, the coffins and the lights and stuff, and that's cool, but this was like even more impressive and just really great. And I'm telling you now, I have a lot of things in the works to make my live shows better, and to make, and I've seen a lot of footage of myself live, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna do that again because that looks really dumb. And then, you know, there's a bunch of different things, and these things get infamous. The people who did the crabcore dancing and stuff like that, they got pretty infamous for it. What was it, like Attack Attack did a lot of that stuff, and the list goes on. Stage antics will be very, very necessary in the near future because of all these bands that are replicating each other, and bands who wish that they were periphery or animals as leaders. It's just like, well, okay, what makes you different? And that's what eventually labels might look at, like, oh wow, their live performance is really great, their music might not be the very best, but they put on a great show, they're bringing in the numbers, and from there it builds. So this is just a little reminder to those of you who are performing live. Give a damn. Give a damn as much as you give a damn about practicing and rehearsing your instrument at home and you're just learning some technique or learning some theory, because it's just as important if you plan on being a professional musician in this day and age. You are nothing if you cannot play live properly. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, these huge bands that have amazing music and got signed purely off of that, good for them. I want to see something that will make me go, wow, that was a really great moment of musicality, technicality, because I like technical guitar stuff. The imagery was totally there, and it was right at the perfect moment. It was all timed perfectly, and there was a switch over, whatever, it was perfect. I want you to think about finding those moments, because I talk about moments on my blog at paullaws.com, and that's to find a musical moment where everything reaches that perfect crescendo where you're like, wow. It's like you just heard opera for the first time and you heard how loud a voice can be without a microphone. It's like the aria of the music, that's the moment. And to get that live is 20 times more difficult, 1,000 times more difficult. It doesn't matter how many times more difficult. It's like nearly impossible to get. But when you get there and you have that moment, everyone that night will remember that one part in that one song when it was just like the whole room vibrated at the same time. It was like maybe the bass guitar played just the right note at the right time, or maybe there was a retard at one drum fill that just made the whole song erupt, basically. So anyway, just some thoughts. Don't beat yourself up if you think that you look awful live. I know that I've done that. It's kind of revealing to a certain extent to see yourself bob your head and you're like, why did I do that? And I've done that, so I feel you there. So just some thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, because I have a lot of videos about this kind of stuff, about not only performance but music and about theory and all these things coming up. I am playing with Aurochs soon on the 12th of January with Mitochondrion and I think Tyrant's Blood and Weapon, and there's a couple of special guests that are apparently going to be at the show or something. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. Crazy good time. So if you're in the Vancouver area, you want to see some black and death metal and some of Vancouver's finest bands perform, make it out, because oh man, it's going to be one of the best ways to start off the year in terms of the live shows. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be wicked. Cheers, YouTube.